It's Sunday, but work doesn't stop on the toll road. Or anywhere else come of that. Well, we have tomatoes here, and I'm sure I saw one ripening a day or two ago. Not there now. Wonder where that went. Yeah, that pile driving certainly makes a hell of a noise. I've prettied up 2 more tree surrounds now. So I wonder what these 3 trees did wrong. Well, it's looking pretty good. When they're finished making a nice fine render on it, we should look at painting the outside white to match the building. And then work out watering. Figure that we can run some pipe from the system that feeds the other garden beds, run that across the top there and out, and just drop the pipe down. And yeah, I suggested to Jabita there should be rubble in the bottom there to provide for drainage down to the corner. So that's what that's all about. But yeah, that'll be a matter of figuring out what we're going to plant in here. Well, looks like we're ready to go. All we need is a watering system and a coat of white paint on the outside, I'd say. Don't know what Jabita's going to plant it, but I guess I'll ask her that. A fairly quiet week this week. Apart from this, we got a bit of well, Daddy's had a go at trying to fix the leak at the bottom down here, and his attempt has been unsuccessful. It's still forcing water out there, but I told him that okay, we want plumbing for the front, so we have a T up there now, up and across, and we'll come back this way. And out the front here we'll come across and down and have a tap somewhere here, and I'll put a timer on that, and we can then water the garden. So as well as that being filled up, the recently finished garden bed around here was also topped up with soil, which has had stuff planted that doesn't look real flash. I suspect it needs a bit of watering. One thing Jabita mentioned lacking was a line where she could dry a blanket in the sun, or in the mornings. This is in the sunny side of the shed, and that's a piece of plastic covered steel cable that was left over from building a clothesline in Tullamarine, so just the right size to hang up between a couple of eye bolts here. So that'll be strong. And it's carefully arranged to be above my head height so I don't clothesline myself, so to speak. That's kind of what I had planned. The only odd bit is that timer tap leaks furiously, so I put a drip catcher under that. It feeds down, so we don't waste that water. But yeah, that's another plan that's come together. Another thing I've got on the go relates to the old switchboard for the house. This here is the meter for supply from the grid, also known as PLM. So there's a breaker on that which originally fed into that switchboard. Now, with the advent of the off-grid system, what I did was I actually had a line from my new switchboard in here, from breaker 2C, which comes out to this cutover switch here. So I rerouted the line from the PLN to actually come into here along with the line from the grid, and the output of that goes to that switchboard. So with this cutover switch I can switch the old circuits for the house, which is all of the AC units along the south wall and all the lighting and all the old Indonesian style power points, I can switch that across to being on the off-grid system. Now, the normal load on that switchboard seems to run at around about 2 kilowatts commonly. In fact, I can show you on a meter here. At the moment, you see that lower right meter there, it says it's currently pulling about 1300 watts. So at the moment, I think I could get through from daylight one day to daylight the next day with that currently in the off-grid position there. So all power will come from the off-grid system. But it's a near thing, and I don't want to push it until we have the new control board for the shed off-grid system, which will stop it doing its spontaneous resets and spontaneous generator starts. We can set that up so that it will start the generator automatically at need. Currently what I do is in the morning I'll come out and switch this to off-grid, and in the evening I will switch it back to mains. But that relies on me remembering to do that, and I have had occasion where I forgot once overnight and it was a very near thing the next morning whether we were going to get through on the power we had. So I've decided to implement something new there, and there's going to be a box mounted down here lower. You can see where I've marked the holes to be drilled, and it's this box down here, which has got an automatic transfer switch and a timer. I'll show you a diagram shortly of how that works, but the idea is that when I had that set up there, I can set it so that it will switch the old switchboard to the PLN about midnight and switch it back to off-grid about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then as I grow confidence that we're going to have an excess of power in the batteries, I can narrow that time window so that I can say, okay, well, 2 o'clock in the morning, switch to off-grid and switch back at 10, and keep refining that down. I would never get to the point where I would say never switch to PLN, on the basis that if we don't have something ticking the meter over occasionally, they may say, well, hang on, you don't need that, and cut us off. So we'll have a small power bill, but it'll be a small power bill. I'll go and show you the diagram of how that's wired up. And there it is. So the idea is with that automatic transfer switch is you have your default load coming in at the top and your backup load coming in at the bottom, and your output down the very bottom. Now these blocks in the middle here are basically the control signals for the switches in that automatic transfer switch, so that if you have power applied to that top control one there, it says, okay, I am prepared to use power from here. And if you have power applied to the bottom one, it says, yep, okay, I'm prepared to use power from here. But the nature of it, the device, is that the top one is the default. So if there's power to both of them, it will use the top one. So what way I've got it set up is, okay, the power to the bottom one also goes to the controls, so it says yes, I'm always available. But the top one there, what it does is it actually has the control line, active line, goes down and through the contacts on this timer switch. So that timer switch to the right there will disconnect the control lines for this top circuit. So when that gets disconnected, the automatic timer switch says, okay, I will now use what's coming in from this alternate circuit. So given that I've got connected to the normally closed contacts on that switch, what I do is I tell the timer switch, okay, turn on at 10 AM, and what that will do is it will break that connection, so it will connect the common to the normally open. It will break that connection, and that will tell the automatic timer switch, hey, this power has gone away, via the control signals, and the automatic transfer switch will then select the alternate input and connect that to the output. That takes 10 to 30 milliseconds apparently. So I just have to program the the clock in this to say, okay, every day at 10 AM turn on, and then turn off at midnight, or progressively as I gain confidence, I'll push that back to later and later, or earlier in the morning. And that will save me having to go out there and manually switch over morning and evening. There's the plan. So the next move is to hang this control box here. I've hung it at this height so that it's actually a bit more convenient for me to be able to get in there and reprogram it, because it's, yeah, that's at eye level for me. I have to put some holes in this box to make access for wires, and of course the wires aren't going to be long enough to reach from there to there, so I have to figure out what to do about that. I'm thinking of just putting a junction box up there with a 6-wire or 6 unit terminal block to let me connect 6 wires that are in there to the 6 wires down here, and run necessary cables between the junction box and this timer box. So that's what I'll be up to today, apart from finishing this video hopefully and getting it uploaded. Well, here we are with the new boxes mounted. Part of this exercise is figuring out how to do it in the least disruptive manner, because I want to have that switchboard there offline for as short an interval as possible, because that one supplies pumps here to my right and Lizu's house. So my plan is to wire it all up to that little box there, and then just say, right, now we're going to turn things off, disconnect wires from there, connect them in there. So that's what I'll proceed to do. And the eagle-eyed amongst you may have spotted that I appear to have hung this box upside down. Well, yeah, I started putting holes in the side of it, the top of it, for where the cables come in, and then I realised I'd done it upside down. So I took the modules out and said, well, they fit in up the other way as well. So there you go. Oops, but no problem. One issue I will have is I've got to try and make this hole here go a bit more towards the back, because it's going to be hard to get the wires through that one. So I'll do that before I start mounting things in there. So I'm making progress. The 6 wires that have to come from the junction box up there down to here into terminal blocks at that end. I couldn't just use a strip of 6, because every second screw when I tried to screw it down would strip its thread. So yeah, there's 2 blocks of 2 and 2 singles in there now, labelled PLM, off-grid and unlabelled, which by default has to be the switchboard. So now I've got to terminate 4 more wires at this end. I got the 2 for the PLM already screwed into that top pair of terminals, yeah, conduit covers up many sins. I'll continue on. Okay, that's done and tightened down. Now it's just a matter of waiting for a day where we can say, right, we're going to do some electrical work today. We'll turn off both the 2C circuit from the other switchboard and that breaker there, and rerun those wires that currently go into the switch up there, reroute those into the terminal block, and then set the time on that and program it accordingly. One thing to note about these, having read the documentation, is they're good for 5,000 manual switches and 2,000 automatic switches. Given that I'm planning to have it switch automatically daily, twice, I figure, okay, well, yeah, 2,000, so 1,000 days, okay, better replace it every 2.5 years. There, $35, it's no big deal. But I'll make a note to say, okay, end of 2025, I better swap that for a new one. And one thing before I put the cover on, again, the eagle-eyed will notice that the top one says solar energy and the bottom one says reverse power. Well, it actually means reserve power. That's because by default, if both sources of power are available, it uses the top one. In my case, I wanted to use the PLN by default, and I will disable that when I want to. So that's why those labels are not applicable to my situation. Well, it's a few hours later, and it turns out I had to do extensive customization of that cover before it would fit on there properly and have the lid so that it doesn't pop off when you try to open it, because it's no longer bowed out that way by the components underneath. So okay, now we'll call the video